This episode of The Patch is brought to you by GoDaddy.com. GoDaddy is here to get your website off the ground. It's easy. Start today with your $199.com domain. Simply visit GoDaddy.com and use the promo code PATCH. That's GoDaddy.com and promo code PATCH. Some limitations apply. See website for details. Hey everyone, welcome to The Patch. I think this is patch number 8.
Where we talk about things that you like to listen.
That's the song.
That's our song. That's our new theme song.
That's terrible.
We're back to original podcast days where we sing a different theme song every week.
We got Gus, Burnie, and Ryan here.
Ryan from
Hi.
Achievement Hunter.
Guys, thanks for inviting me to sit in your oven today.
It's pretty warm.
It gets pretty warm in here.
Yeah.
What is it in Austin now? It's like 100. Is it back up over 100 yet?
Yeah, it is. Pretty consistently.
We had 106 degrees about 3 weeks ago, and that made the summer seem awful for a couple days, but then seemed after that 90 was great.
Yeah.
It seemed like
it really set your expectations.
Yeah.
It tempered your expectations.
It did.
Ooh. Look who's
do you
got
remember
vocab.
a couple? You're from Corpus?
No, I'm from Georgia.
Really?
Yeah, I'm from Columbus, Georgia originally.
Have you told Matt that yet?
Yes, Matt knows.
And have you guys
He's
had
from
the
Atlanta.
Georgia conversation?
The Georgia bonding,
Did you share a peach?
Yeah, we did. That's
Together,
that's
you take a bite out of it?
That is absolutely the traditional Georgia greeting. If you see another Georgian, we both have actually secret peaches hidden in our body.
Pocket peaches.
Yeah, I'm not going to tell you where we keep it, but.
The pocket peach for just in case.
Yeah.
So
it is exactly 100 degrees. But you weren't here the summer that we had 76 days over 100 degrees.
I thought it was 100.
What?
Oh, yeah.
100 days over 100?
Yeah.
No, because that'd be over 3 months.
Yeah, I think it was 76 in a row, but it was 100 total.
God.
I don't know if I was here or in Corpus, but yeah, I absolutely lived through that. I think
It was 2011.
that was when my wife was pregnant too, so
Oh my God, she must have been in
she
hell.
enjoyed that.
That adds like 30 degrees.
Yeah.
That's 30 degrees.
So speaking of Georgia, reminds me, have you played The Walking Dead 400 Days yet?
I have not. I'm actually saving that for a thing we're doing maybe this weekend.
Okay.
Yeah. We're going to do that game time series I do, which is basically sit down, play a game, and play with 2 people.
Yeah.
I'm not sure I can do that with Walking Dead, though, because Walking Dead is so much jibber-jabber. So we might not be able to talk over it, so we might do something else.
Okay.
But no, I haven't. The short answer is no. I have not played it
I
yet.
just played it.
How was it?
Short.
It was just short?
So a little
think-
shy of 400 days?
I think it took 2 hours, which
Okay.
is way shy of 400
That's
days.
a little time
How do you feel?
compression.
How do you feel? It's 400. It's like Last of Us Day.
400 seconds.
Yeah, not even 400 minutes. 400
Okay.
seconds, a little
So
over 400 seconds.
in Walking Dead, 400 days is 2 hours. Last of Us, a day is about 10 minutes.
Something
right?
like that.
Well,
Yeah.
time flies when you're having fun.
Have you played Last of Us multiplayer yet?
No, I haven't played any Last of Us yet. You were going to loan me your PS3.
I am. I'm going to loan him my PS3
Yeah.
so he can play it.
We should play multiplayer.
Okay.
So here's a good question. Ryan is not a guy who owns a PS3.
Okay.
Is Last of Us worth the cost of the console? Does it justify it? Going out and buying console for that game?
I think if you approach it as a Naughty Dog delivery platform, yes.
Yep.
If you get it for Last of Us, Uncharted 2, 3, and to a lesser extent Uncharted 1, absolutely worth it.
Well, I mean, considering especially this is the end of the PS3 era, so it's really only you'd be buying it for back catalog more so than anything you'd get going forward.
Well, do you have a Blu-ray player?
I do.
Oh, okay.
I'm muting your shit
I'm
because
sorry,
you're
buddy.
fucking rude.
I'm sorry.
Muted.
I'm getting on-the-fly information about time and temperature. So it's 100
Good to
degrees.
know.
It's
I'm gonna
important.
glower at someone. Yeah, I don't, but I absolutely think that there's definitely great games to get, and I mean, this is the time to do it.
So did I tell you the weird thing that Ashley and I did? Is she's been playing Ni no Kuni, which is another PS3 game. It's like, are you an anime guy at all? by any
I
chance?
do watch anime, yeah.
So it's
Do you
by
like JRPGs?
I sit in the area with Monty and Carrie. It's kind of like you have to. It's like osmosis.
Yeah, you'll
of
pick it up by
entertainment. Yeah,
osmosis,
you're
yeah.
just going to see it.
it's just pure saturation in the
Yeah,
environment.
absolutely.
Because the guys who make Ruby, they watch anime on a regular basis. Like I
constantly.
remember Monty would give them assignments for the writing team for what to watch. But she's been playing Ni no Kuni, which is I think by the guy who did Princess Mononoke, that art style, right? Is
yeah,
that?
Studio Ghibli.
There you go.
You got a fucking expert right here. Why are you looking over there?
She plays the game. She's like,
I played the game. I've come like 40 hours into it.
oh, are you really?
Yes.
40 hours is like what? You got through the first chapter. You got one cutscene under
I
your
was
belt.
still going through
Oh, it's one of
tutorial.
those, okay.
Anyway, when I played through Last of Us, she was not. She was out in the treadmill, like the garage where the treadmill's set up, playing Ni no Kuni. So she didn't watch me play any Last of Us. The other night, we were trying to figure out like what we were gonna do. We were gonna go see a movie. We talked about going to see Man of Steel. Like, I don't know if you guys have seen that, but
No, no desire.
yeah, I've heard the same way. I just have heard so many things
it's
that
not
are
that bad.
mixed. What's an origin story again? How many times
Someone argued with me. I don't remember who it was. I think it was JJ or someone was arguing with me saying that it wasn't an origin story, that a third of it took place like on Krypton. I was like, no, what's fucking origin? What do you think origin means?
Absolutely an origin story. There's no question that there is origin there. Sorry, you lose.
I don't know if it was
JJ, we have seen Superman's origin story enough that's been covered every possible way.
But now it's gritty.
You know what it is? It's every damn director and writer wants to like put their spin on it.
Yeah.
Oh, like I'm sure
I can tell it better. Yeah.
So instead of doing that, Ashley had the idea. She said, "Why don't we just watch all the cutscenes for Last of Us?" Since she
never played the game.
She never played it, so she just watched the game as a movie and watched all the cutscenes.
Interesting.
I think.
Does the story hold
did you
together?
have to fill in?
So I made notes as we went along. The problem is if I give the notes, it's spoilerish. So maybe we'll do it at the end of the podcast. We'll say like 5 minutes. I'll talk about that stuff. But
I'll give you a 5-minute warning.
Thank you. I appreciate that. You're good about that, giving me warnings. But yeah, we'll talk about maybe that at the end of the patch for people who have actually played through all of Last of Us. And if you haven't, we'll probably be spoiling a couple
I'll just
things.
plug my ears and go la 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 la.
Oh right. Well,
We'll kick you out.
I'll be careful because you're here
Thank
too.
you.
Yeah, you get the boot. Yeah, but that was pretty interesting too, because then I watched it too, and I can tell you that the cutscenes were an hour and a half. And I enjoyed it just as much, yeah. So it's just like watching a movie.
Does it have just a dedicated playback area where you can just, okay.
Yeah,
like a bonus feature.
As you play through the game, it unlocks the cinematics, and there's a play all button. You can just play through from beginning to end.
Yeah. We'll talk about it more in a minute, though.
Okay, in 15 minutes or so.
55
When I'm not
minutes.
I'm not in your special club yet, so.
You will be. So people have been asking about having you on the patch for a long time, so I decided to
They didn't know what they were getting into, sorry.
They felt you were a lot more representative of PC gaming.
That is true, as the one that actually has one.
I have a gaming PC. It's a
Really?
MacBook Pro.
You really? Is that what you use for all your gaming?
Yeah.
Hey, what's the hubbub? Because the only thing I ever see you play PC on your MacBook Pro is World of Warcraft. And I guess you play
No,
Old
you play
Republic.
on Mac, yeah.
Yeah. But I've only ever seen you play like PC, personal computer, I mean.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
I played, DayZ, Tropico.
Wow.
I actually saw this weekend, or not this weekend, the other day. I'm sorry, I'm all fucked up because of RTX. The other day I saw that Mech Warrior Tactics is in closed beta at the moment.
Really?
So yeah, it's like a tactics Mech Warrior game. Yeah, that's hex-based.
Huh.
So you go to mwtactics.com, I think.
Well, there's another free-to-play Mech Warrior game that's pretty big right now.
Yeah, this one's not free to play. You can pay to be a founder and get into closed beta access. It's like $20.
It seems like a lot of games are going that route now. Like a big one.
Mechs are the new zombies, man.
They are, yeah, they really are. Well, not just mechs, but the idea of pay when you're in the alpha to develop the game. Like Cube World, which is really big right now, so big that you can't get it. Is this doing the same thing? And that's how the Minecraft model was, where you could buy into it in the alpha, and then you just have it as it continues to develop.
Okay, now here's the difference. And this is weird too, because you obviously working at Achievement Hunter, you guys are huge into Minecraft. And I was in the PC kind of generation of Minecraft. By the time you guys started playing it for Let's Plays and it became enormously popular, like our biggest show view-wise, then I had already been like done with Minecraft for a year. It was weird because I was in that stage. But the alpha stage for Minecraft was what, $10?
Yeah.
Yeah, and I've seen games on Steam. It's like $90. There's some world domination game. What is that? It's on the rotation right now on Steam. I'll see if I can look at it.
Game.
It's like Galactic Domination or something. But it's $90 to get early access. That seems kind of steep.
Yeah, well, the Mech Warrior Tactics game that I was just talking about has different tiers. So it's like the
all
lowest
do
tier
that.
is $20, but then the most expensive tier is $120. And I think if you pay more, you get more in-game currency, and you get like XP multiplier bonuses when you play the game.
Yeah, they're offering packages.
Okay.
A lot of them do that. The new Marvel Heroes game, same thing. You could buy into it early and get early access and get more costumes, more character unlocks, and they just have a tiered system where you could get more for more.
Could I get a glass of water, Chris, whenever you're done there? I'm dying over here.
Want to sip my coffee?
No, I don't
can I have
want
one
any coffee.
No, you got face.
Please?
Just making a nice
Please?
gesture. But so there was a recent hubbub. I don't know if you guys read about it, where Double Fine did a Kickstarter for their game.
Oh, right.
And they successfully funded, and everything was great. And knowing Double Fine, they probably went really over their amounts. And then they got into development, and they said, oh, well, we wrote a game now that's bigger than we expected, so now we need more money in our budget for this. So they're initially they were going back to Kickstarter to try to get more money from their Kickstarters, which is like, it's actually kind of interesting to me because if they were in a corporate environment, that's a normal conversation to have. It's like, oh, our budget's $2 million for this game, or whatever, $10 million, and we need another $2 million to get this thing done. Happens in movies, happens in games, happens in all entertainment. That is not really an option when you've crowdsourced your funding for this thing. Or the audience is like, what are you talking about? Now they understand. Now they're the corporate bigwigs who are like, fuck you, put out the game.
Well, I mean, I think that the difference here is, and what Double Fine said was that once they met their goal and they exceeded their goal, that they expanded the scope of what they wanted to do. And I think that's where the problem lies. It's nice that they expanded the scope, but people who initially kickstarted expected one thing, and they expected it to be funded with the money they had.
They didn't expand the budget appropriately.
Right. So I mean, I think it's great that Double Fine's willing to expand the scope and add more to it, but it's hard to communicate that message to people that we're going to give you more. We just need a little more money to make that happen.
But they already have more money. That's what people are saying. It's like you already went over your goal.
Yeah, they busted the cap already.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's what allowed them to really expand their scope.
And look, like I said, this is a normal discussion to have in development. You're just now having to have it with, instead of 10 faces, you're having to have it with 10,000 faces, and where people are mad. And I think
all feel entitled, even though they only gave $10.
But listen,
but they were promised.
Yeah, they were
promises were made.
I'm not saying they're not unjustified, but yeah, I mean, now you've got a lot of people who think that they are now owed something, which because they kind of do.
But listen, I don't know if you've ever been in an environment like that. If you talk to investors who invest money in your project, they feel very entitled once they give you money as well. It's no different. It is funny to see the public reacting exactly the same as hey, thank you very much, Chris. Where the fuck's my drink? It is funny. Cheers, guys. To see how the public. I'm fine, Chris. I don't need anything. Is acting essentially like a board of directors now. Like a board of directors saying, fuck you, we paid you this money, you said you were going to deliver this game, so you deliver it. And they had that tough discussion, and now the public's doing that. But if the public was witnessing, say, Activision or Microsoft Game Studios doing that to Double Fine, they'd go, give them more money, Microsoft Game Studios, just do it. We want a better game.
I missed a lot of this controversy because this was happening while we were doing Move-In for RTX. As a result of this rescoping of the game and this request for more money, has that pushed the delivery date back? Or are they still expecting to meet their initial delivery date?
I don't know. I think that's the other problem with Kickstarter is, like, as these things do start to not deliver, what then happens? Like, the Ouya is going through that right now, where there's some tiers of the Kickstarter that are not receiving their units yet.
Even though it's publicly available?
Even though they're in retail at this point. They're just not delivering that. It's one of the early lessons learned in Kickstarter is that the less physical the rewards are, the more likely they are to deliver them. Once you start layering in physical rewards, people don't understand what it takes to manufacture and ship all those things. And it can eat a massive portion of your Kickstarter budget. If you
I'm sure the shipping cost alone is staggering to just meet all the demand for the Kickstarter people, for the Ouya or things like that.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, as you're saying, this is a absolutely normal process whereby, I mean, how often do you see a trailer for a game or...
This is like,
there you go.
Chris's water delivery.
All right.
Thank you, Chris.
Your hand's all wet. What'd you do? Did you like dip it?
You just scoop the water
into a trough? Is that where that was coming from? All right.
Thanks, man.
How often do we see a trailer or an early website for a game where they promise all of these features and then you end up getting a third of those?
Well,
but that process can't happen anymore. Yeah, Spore.
Model.
Well, that also happened with Star Command, the iOS game that I talked about a few weeks ago. The Kickstarter promised a lot of things, and then when the product was finally delivered, a lot of it was cut with promises of, like, this will be patched in.
Right. Which I think we're starting to see more of a move to that kind of a model where you get a game and then with the expectation that you'll get 50% more features to that game. Again, it's the Cube World Minecraft kind of idea where that game isn't done. You've got early access to it, you can play it now, but you'll get the rest of it as it goes.
That works with open world games like Minecraft and things like that. I feel like for a game like Star Command, which I already got on iOS, it doesn't work so well. It's like a linear storyline, and when you're done, you're done.
Yeah.
Like, they're going to patch features in, and I'm going to want to replay the game. Like,
yeah.
I don't know.
If you got a campaign, it just doesn't hold up the same way.
Right.
But then that comparison to the public becoming essentially investors in a project, with which they share no revenue. But it is interesting that they do become like that because then they have to assess risk of, do I want to get like a founder's pack for this online free-to-play game or this MMO? Do I want to spend $120 to do that to get these benefits, which are great long-term if there is a long-term? Because a lot of these things shut their doors pretty quickly, too.
And, you're making that investment choice before you've seen anything other than their concepts, usually.
Right.
It's like, well, this is the ideal we have. We don't even have anything to show you that works.
Yeah, we really have changed the model a lot.
Yeah.
And then if the game is wildly successful, they really don't share it, other than the fact that they get entertainment out of it.
Which, I mean, that's the same pitch these studios are making when they're going in for other kinds of investment anyway, right? I mean, they still are showing up with nothing on hand and saying, this is my idea, can you give me money? It's more public now when you...
Have you ever backed to Kickstarter?
I've never backed to Kickstarter, no.
Burnie?
Many.
Many.
Yeah, probably 20 at this point, I think.
I've only ever done one.
I actually linked up my Kickstarter to my notifications, so now I get notified when my friend, because you can have friends on Kickstarter, and every time they do something, it notifies me, which is cool for finding out about new projects. But then I'm like, hey, you know, Shannon McCormick, stop being so fucking generous. You're blowing up my email. There's a couple of people I follow, and Shannon McCormick, who plays Agent Washington in Red vs. Blue. God, he backs a lot of stuff. Because it's not, you know, he covers theater. There's always a lot of local theater projects and stuff like that. But I don't always back technology or gaming stuff. But and then of course there's always ones that I wish I had backed. Like I know you're not a fan, but I wish I had backed Oculus Rift, because then I would have one of those units.
You keep doing that. Wait until you see one.
There were 3 at RTX.
Did you play with one?
No.
Why not?
I didn't have time.
Because then he would have an
Okay.
informed opinion, Ryan, and then he doesn't want that.
Y'all don't have an informed opinion either.
Well, you're
Well,
right.
it's true.
You're right. I don't.
Don't fucking come down on me for not having an informed opinion. We have equal Oculus Rift playing time at this table.
It is true.
Okay, it's a
But
zero-sum
I
option.
can say that there's people that I trust a lot, like David Ellis, who works at 343.
I'm kidding. I love David Ellis. I'm totally kidding.
Who was an early backer, and at E3, I had dinner with him at E3, and he said there was a conference room upstairs where they had like a space dogfight simulator that used Oculus Rift, and you would like look over your head as you pass things and look back to see them.
Yeah.
He said it was pretty fucking awesome.
Why
In
don't
his
you
own
want
words,
that?
though, he is a VR nerd.
I don't like VR.
What is
I
it
feel
about
like
VR that you
I've
don't
seen past iterations come and fail.
like? That is a fair point. At this point, we've never seen a delivery of VR for the home that has been anywhere close to what
it's
you
like
would want.
people. It's always a grand promise and then a failure in delivery.
But you gotta assume-
until we start seeing successful delivery,
Yeah.
then I'm not going to believe it.
You got to assume that we're headed that way, though, right? I mean, sooner or later, someone's
Plus,
going to
also,
make a product that
I
works.
don't want to have something that sits on my face. I already have a hard enough problem with 3D glasses that I have to put over my glasses.
But it's this close to your face.
Yeah, it's
Do you
another,
even need-
thing that has to go over my glasses.
Do you need
like
the
My
glasses?
glasses are going to. Yes, I do. My glasses
So
are
you
going to get
can't see
smushed up
close
against
or
my face.
far?
No, I can't see anything.
Wow, okay.
They're going to get smushed up against my face. Going to get all smudged. I'm going to be able to see anything. It's going to be a terrible experience.
That is a horrible experience when you have glasses and they get that smush and it's like it bends around your face. Something about it is just, it's terrible.
How about we just wire them into your eyeballs?
Okay.
You'll go for that?
I'll wait for the second revision.
Okay.
Let me ask you this.
On cornea.
You're not excited about virtual reality products. Are you excited about augmented reality products?
Kind of, to a lesser extent, but I feel like no one's doing that right either. Are you talking about stuff like Google Glass?
Or like on your iPhone when you can hold, there's apps where you can like hold up and it shows you where the
Yeah.
Starbucks is through the camera.
Those are okay.
Yeah.
But I feel like that's still in its infancy as well. Like Yelp has that monocle
Yeah.
view, where you can be like, "Where's a restaurant around me?" and you just like look around. That's kind of cool if you're in an unfamiliar place.
There is a cool app that, like, if you just want to show off cool technology, there's a very cool app on iOS, iPhone, which is called, is it called World Lens or Word Lens?
Oh, I think it's called Word Lens.
Word Lens. And have you ever seen this before? So it's a product you buy, Word Lens, and it activates your camera, so you look around the world in front of you, and they give you some demo. It's like $5.99 last time I downloaded it. They give you some demo libraries, English to Spanish and Spanish to English. So you hold it
I
up
know
to
what
like
you're
an
talking about.
exit sign, and on the camera, seemingly like it changes a real picture to convert the English to Spanish or vice versa. So if you're in a foreign country and you don't speak the language, you could theoretically hold this up and it would translate all the signs for you.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
And it's not like printed on the screen as subtitled. It like changes the image. It is one of the most, it's really strange to look at the way it does.
That would be really surreal.
It is very surreal. It's one of those products the first time you use, you're like, is this magic?
I mean, is it just overlaid in it? Or
No,
It changes
it's
the words on the
fucking-
screen.
It's fucking
I feel
crazy.
you're blowing my mind. It's kind of like you just combined the that Photoshop filter where you could constructively
that content-aware
rebuild.
scaling.
Yeah, the content-aware area.
Contextual scaling.
Yeah,
Is that
it's
what it
like
is?
you combine that
Context-aware.
with
Context-aware, yeah.
OCR from scanner
Yeah,
technology.
exactly.
All right.
It's the exact same thing.
wanna
You know
see
when
it.
they take that window and they resize it? And what is it? It's content-aware scaling.
Yeah, content-aware fill or scale.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's basically.
Which, by the way, I played with and does not work. As
Oh, really?
described.
Yeah. Well, they always use a
I'm
great.
sure it's better now, but
I use it pretty frequently. For every Rooster Teeth podcast thumbnail, we have to do that because our thumbnails have that left gray and black side with the Rooster Teeth logo, and so the image is too wide. So I always have to content aware, scale it down.
You should explain what you're talking about to people.
So
who haven't
you
seen
take
it
an
before.
image. I mean, it's old technology by now, but you take an image and you basically like resize it, and it removes unnecessary data, so it doesn't look like it's warped or out of aspect ratio.
Right, like you can take a landscape. They always show the mountain with the lake and the sky, and they shrink it, and it keeps all the images or all the assets in the image on the fly, but it just gets rid of the dead space.
Well,
it's
it
weird.
does. I mean, things in the interim, like for example, if we went to the 3-shot and we had Gus and I on either side.
This would be a great time to go to 3-shot.
There we go. And you wanted to just get rid of Burnie.
Yeah.
It could
Why wouldn't
keep
you?
me and keep Gus and just squish the thing together, and then we would still be correctly proportioned, but this area just kind of would collapse like the Rooster Teeth logo.
I would totally watch that podcast, by the way. That sounds like a good podcast. I'd like to see that.
And
one.
I did play with it for a while when it first came out. The content-aware fill specifically, and you can get some horrific things with that, especially if it's got any kind of faces in it. I think I did it once, and it decided randomly to grab a person's face from the crowd, just fill the whole area with all these contorted heads.
That sounds frightening.
It was frightening.
Barbara for RTX posted a panoramic shot of the convention floor before it was open, so it was just an empty convention hall, and her and Gus were the only people there. But Gus got caught in the panorama, and he ended up like this slim,
What I did was I tried.
two-dimensional Gus.
I had walked in front of her camera the whole way, so it had ignored me and cut me out of every piece of the image except for that one little bit.
Really?
Yeah.
And you were like this slim,
And
like
my face was looking in one direction and the other direction
You
at
were
the same
Slender
time.
Gus, the Sphinx.
it was pretty horrifying.
It was
I have
awful.
to admit. I'm gonna try to download WordLens to blow Ryan's mind on the fly here.
Too bad we don't have any foreign languages in here.
No, I'll convert this. I'll convert my screen to.
Spanish?
Yeah, to Spanish. Oh, so like I had downloaded WordLens before, so I'm going to download it off the iOS, and it's telling me it's a little cloud with an arrow down. I'm not buying it. I'm just installing it
Re-downloading
because I already
it,
have it. Which reminds me, there was a story today. Let me see how you feel about this. So this is one of the sites I read is Polygon, and they were reporting a big announcement by Sony today about how the PS4 is going to handle accessing games in the cloud. Via
This is the Gaikai technology?
by the PS4, how you can be able to do that. And basically what they said is you will go to your house, go to your friend's house, the games you purchase will live in the cloud, and what you'll do is you'll sign in using your account, and then you'll be able to download your game, and while you're signed in, you can play at your friend's house. And everyone's like, that's fucking amazing. It's like, wow, look at Sony, they're destroying Microsoft this generation. That's exactly the way it works today. It was like there was one little caveat in it that was different, which was when it's partially downloaded, you can begin playing it, which is super convenient because when you're downloading a game at somebody else's house, you don't want to spend an hour downloading to play for 20 minutes.
Yeah, you don't want to have to talk to them.
But people, it's really strange. Like the whole DRM discussion, I really wonder how educated people are overall. That's exactly the way the PlayStation works today, and exactly the way the 360 works today. You sign into your account online, you check in.
Well, even with the PS3, you can play partially downloaded stuff. You did that with Last of Us,
I
right?
totally did that with Last of Us, and it was awesome. And I kind of needed it because the first download of Last of Us, they do day one delivery on PS3, was the first time I downloaded it was 6.5 hours, I think, if I recall correctly. The second time was 40 minutes. So because I wasn't doing it on launch day.
Okay.
Yeah. But I sat down and played with. I recorded the game time, which will come out soon, with E from Xbox Live. And I just was like, I thought it'd be fun to say, okay, we're going to download a game and play it. But we started from that process, and I said, well, what's going on now? Like, how many servers are involved in checking my account? Like, he broke down, like, when you go to check your monetary account, which is another change that was made today. And then he talked about how content is distributed, because the way that when you look at something like the Xbox or the PS3, they're distributing all those games, and then you look at stuff like Netflix and Hulu, which are on the dashboard now. That's a lot of content that just lives all of it. It was really interesting the way those content delivery systems work, but that'll be out soon.
Cool.
But did you see the change today where beta users for the new Xbox update have reported that they are moving to real world currency and ditching points?
Oh,
They
points are gone?
announced that at E3, but they made it seem like that was going to come with Xbox One.
I agree. I thought it was an Xbox One feature as well.
Yeah.
Did you hear the thing that's now raising the fur on the back of people's necks, the hair on the back of people's necks for this?
What, they can only use their local currency?
No, prices are going up. Like
mean?
somebody did the calculations on that, and some of the titles are as much as 30% higher, which sounds like a lot, but that was like specifically I think a $9.99 title that was going to like $11.99 or something like that. So, but in general prices are going up for some of these things. Which
by removing the points, the price is increasing.
seems like a bad idea to layer that in at that point in time.
It really is, yeah. I mean, at the time you're trying to convince people of the steaminess of the future of the Xbox.
Look at you, the
steaminess.
It's all hot.
It's
The
all
sauna.
hot.
So people were tweeting at us that I guess the Steam summer sale starts tomorrow.
Yeah. I don't know if I'm looking forward to that or not. We'll see what's on sale.
Totally looking forward to that. I have so many goddamn titles that I have not installed. Let me see my library here. So I have all my games. I have 117 games on Steam, and I have installed 15. So I have a lot of games. The Steam sale, if you've never done it before, is like for one day, for 24 hours, like mark stuff down 75% or 85%.
Oh, yeah.
And you're just like, yeah, I totally want that.
You can't not buy things because they're so cheap.
It's so funny.
I know that sounds ridiculous, but when it gets to a certain price point, you're like, someday I might
gonna
want to play that.
Point, yeah.
And it's $3.
You really reach a point where like, I think it's actually more expensive for me not to buy this.
Yeah.
Somehow you work that out in your brain.
It will physically hurt me if I don't own this game today for that price.
And that's the thing is like, there's a huge, and that's what achievements play into. There's a big thing where it's a collector mentality.
Yeah.
And it's like, even I think that's a big thing in piracy. I think a lot of people like download things or buy things in Steam sales that they're never going to use. They just want the full collection.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, I can get to buy the Mass Effect trilogy. I've played all of them. I'm never going to go back and play the original Mass Effect, but it would be nice to have the trilogy all in one place.
Yeah.
I'll buy that. Yeah.
And I struggle with that too because I will see it come up on the Steam, and it'll be a title that I already played on the Xbox. But I think, man, the things do run so much better on PC. I'd kind of like to. Well, they do.
There goes the Twitter feed.
Hi, guys. Well, I mean, especially for things like Mass Effect 3 or any of those Dragon Age things where it's got a lot of load times between maps, and PC, it'll just flip over. Xbox, you got to wait. It's a thing, all right?
Yeah.
It was optical versus.
Yeah, I mean, it's just
hard
PCs
disk,
are later. At this point, is newer technology. When we get to Xbox One, it'll probably catch up again for a while. But
especially once you can download and install games to your
well, you can do that
internal
now.
drive.
You can do that now on Xbox.
So people are writing now their stats. I have 85 games on Steam and only 2 are installed.
Can you imagine a world where Ray decided he wanted to collect Steam games instead of achievement points?
That would be a scary where the economy would take off and the personal economy would collapse, probably.
You do it for the greater good.
Well, he's already paying for all the games.
Yeah.
You know, it's amazing to me that you can't gift games on Xbox now.
Yeah.
I should have asked
Are they going to be
you
able to
about
do that on Xbox One?
I think that's one of the things you just lost. You know, when he came out and said, we were going to give you the world, but you guys weren't ready for it, so we're going to take it all back.
Well, now there is a petition online where people are petitioning to bring that back. I know, right? It's just like...
Well, I don't think there's any question that it'll come back. I mean, they've just got to figure out how to reintroduce parts of their idea.
Down the road, it'll slowly get patched back in.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because if it already exists, they were going to ship launch with it. They can surely reintroduce it. I'm sure over time they'll bring it back in stages.
Microsoft might need to realize at this point that they are better off messaging individual features as opposed to a whole set, because people get lost in that. People, when they look at the individual features, seem to like them, but then in the whole mass of them, they just tend to lose it. Sony is obviously doing a much better job of messaging.
I feel like that's something that Apple has done for a long time, where it's like you make an announcement and you focus on a couple of key features, and all the shitty stuff or the stuff people might not like doesn't get mentioned. It's like shit. It's like, you know, put off to the side, and it comes out in like later subsequent announcements.
Like, look at our new awesome suppository computer. Just don't try and put a hard drive in it.
Yeah.
But you could also make the argument too that Apple is probably one of the most committed companies when it comes to things they roll out, because when they say like they'll turn off products, they'll get rid of stuff. I always go back to when all Macs went to USB, and everyone had serial and parallel devices, and Mac just goes, oh, and by the way, these new computers will not have serial or parallel interfaces, and everybody's like, what? It's like I have to rebuy like $600 worth of printers and scanners and everything else. Like, yeah, you got to do that. And they didn't back off from that at all. I mean, they went full USB. Sometimes you got to make those leaps. Sometimes you do.
And that's what they said, is like if you want to move forward and make modern computers, you have to get rid of legacy.
Yeah.
And I kind of feel like where Xbox had its problem was their best explanation of what they wanted to do was when they were conceding that they were going to take it out.
Yeah.
Like when they finally really told you what you were missing on, that's when some of those features made sense.
And that's when people started launching petitions.
And now they want
to
some of that
try
back.
to get it back.
I do not see a world where we don't. You know, honestly, when they first announced that feature set, day one, I said, nah, at launch that won't be there.
Yeah.
The only thing they haven't done yet that I still think they will is offer a version with no Kinect. But now that it's kind of come to light that there may or may not be any way to interact with the Xbox in certain ways without it, that may not be realistic.
Yeah.
But no, absolutely. There's no way that you won't have that sharing stuff come back soon, I would imagine.
Whenever you have these big leaps, it does seem like, kind of like easing into the water versus jumping in, you know what I mean? But there are some things, like there are clearly lines. I get that we will get to a point where when you tell people they have to have internet to run certain devices in your house, I thought we were there, but we're not there. But it will eventually be like electricity. Like you have to have water, you have to have electricity to run, modern house. You just accept that. Internet, if you ask me, I would turn off cable before I turn off internet in a heartbeat.
Absolutely.
In fact, I'm about to do that now that Game of Thrones is over.
I think we've talked about this before. I don't know if we ever talked about it on a podcast, but it's like, how would you rank your utilities? Like, is internet more important than a sewer connection?
Phone line?
Well, you
got
to have electricity.
Do you have
no
a phone line?
phone line.
Phone line?
Phone line's
No.
gone.
I don't have a phone line either. I mean, I have phone lines, but I don't have a phone, a landline
no
phone.
phone service.
Which they push those bundled packages real hard, but
I know, that fucking drives me crazy. Who buys that?
no.
Well,
at one point I did actually. I think 2 packages ago, I had a phone line because it was actually cheaper to have it than not have it. That's how hard they wanted you to have a phone line.
Yeah. It's worth a lot to them to have that and be able to deliver those things.
But why? Because it's useless.
Yeah.
And no one ever used it.
So there's a thing with telecom being built the way it is, and Gus and I come from a telecom background. One of the big things that exists, there's a lot of government funding for phones. It was determined at one point that everyone had to have access to a telephone. So if you can get hold of a phone bill or look one up online if you don't have one, there's a line on there called the Universal Service Fund, which everybody pays into, which basically says everybody in the U.S. has to have a phone line. So we're going to make it available to anybody everywhere. Everyone is going to pay into this Universal Service Fund. It's a ton of money. Like every phone customer pays in like $3 to $4 a month on that. It just basically says my installation is going to cost $49.95 to install a phone in my house. Also, if you live in a ranch out in the middle of nowhere, your installation also costs $49.95.
Right. Equal opportunity.
Exactly right. Universal access is what it is. And they've talked about doing that with broadband. And I think even Sweden is it Sweden or Norway? They've got a bill right now that guarantees a certain level of internet access.
Interesting.
I think it's like 15 megabits.
We'll try that guarantee.
I know, right?
There have been programs that have offered government money to distribute wireless internet to rural areas. I mean, I once worked on a project that was providing that kind of thing, and it was a little startup company, and that was their thing, was they got a big government grant to just provide a WAN, or like a wireless access to like smaller areas in Colorado.
But I think George, I'm gonna look it up right now, but I think universal service for broadband was actually proposed under George Bush in like 2001.
I think it was part of like the Telecommunications Act.
No, that was 96. The Telecom Act 96, that was the big one that deregulated a lot of stuff. Hold on one second. Let me see. Broadband universal service. I'll try to look it up here. But what I was going to say about these leap forwards is there are clearly lines, right? So we know there's a line where certain things are acceptable. Electricity is acceptable. Let me draw this to a more current example. So let's say the PS4 and the Xbox One. The PS4 comes out and it supports everything. Well, let's reverse it because everyone seems to be anti-Xbox right now. Let's say the Xbox comes out and it's going to support everything. But the PS4, it's suddenly revealed in an article, the PS4 supports all resolutions 720 and up. And so everyone goes, wait a minute, they're not supporting standard def anymore. So what if I have a standard def TV, or what if somebody doesn't have an HD TV in their house? What about those people? Do you think people would be as upset if we left that behind? Or are we now at the point where HD TV, it's understood you're going to have HD TV and you have to have it?
I think for the most part, yes, but I think more people have internet than HD TVs.
I think so too. But I think if we found out that the PS4 does, and I don't think anyone's ever asked that question, will these new next-gen consoles support standard def?
Well, so I discovered something at RTX this weekend. I finally got to see one of the new Xbox 360e consoles, the ones that they announced at E3 that are designed to match up with the Xbox One look. They do not have any analog output on them. They only have HDMI out. There's no breakout cable for composite or component.
Really?
Yeah. So it's like, how many standard def TVs do you know that only have HDMI input?
Very few.
Yeah.
Well, I think though what the jump there is, though. The difference between assuming people have HD or SD versus, we can assume pretty much everybody, or a lot of people, most of the time, have internet. The question is, do we rely on one? Will the back end of that always be up, which is what we learned from SimCity? And two, people that just don't want to have their internet on all the time or don't want to use their usage.
And there's also very legitimate arguments about features that they think they're losing, like the ability to sell used games.
Yeah.
Which is a personal thing where if somebody buys something, they think they own it.
Yeah.
We also have worked with professional software for a long time now in our careers. We know you never actually do own software.
No.
You license software, and people don't think about that with their games. They don't think about that, but it's a licensing agreement. Those agreements that you're hitting accept to, you're licensing software. You're not buying it really.
No.
Yeah.
Well, and as someone that uses Steam primarily, that's not something new to me. I mean, okay, I can't sell my game.
Yeah.
So that's just normal operating procedure. But
well, you see now. Look, here's a Steam gamer right here. To you not being able to, having to be online and not being able to sell your games, that's not anything new to you.
Not particularly, yeah. And that's a lot of those features I immediately identified with, okay, so that's the normal thing that I already deal with. However, you can play Steam offline, but it can be a pain in the ass to do it.
Yeah.
So, I mean, yeah, that much was normal, but, and this is where Xbox, I think, could make up a lot of ground, and they've started to. Steam, because of that same thing we're talking about, will always do sales. They're more aggressive at pushing down prices than Xbox has ever been.
Historically.
Yeah.
But both Sony and Microsoft right now are doing massive digital sales.
They are.
Yeah.
And I saw that, yeah, they've got some decent ones going on right now.
I think everyone recognizes, the success of the Steam business model and these sales. I mean, we're already talking about the summer sale, where you get these flash sales. I think Sony and Microsoft both realize the value in that, and I think we're going to see a push towards that model.
Which that is something that's still, and it seems like it's fine to you guys, but the idea that a digital version costs the same as a box version, that kind of does bug me.
Yeah, I think honestly, Microsoft would be very well served, and Sony too, if they competitively price their digital versions to be lower. Instead of restricting people and saying you can't do it, look how much better it is. You save your $5. You get the used game price by going all digital, and it's offset by the fact that we don't have to manufacture and strike deals with retailers.
I mean, that's a lot of expense. And I think they're kind of being a little disingenuous in pretending that we don't know that they're not spending extra money to deliver us the digital version, and offering it to us at the same price.
And there's a lot of things, too. Like when we talk about DRM, and the general population doesn't have a lot of education about DRM. I mean, it's who wants to keep up with all this stuff just to play a goddamn game anyway, right? But also, it's like there's a lot of things that people don't understand the way they work. Like if you're in Canada or Europe and you go to watch a YouTube video and it says, this is not available in your country, you're like, well, fuck you dickheads. Like, fuck you, HBO, because, I want to watch this here and HBO is a bunch of shitheads. They're actually not. That's actually because the rights have been sold to someone in your country, and that someone in your country, a business in your country, is blocking it from being shown because they're protecting their business and the rights that they have purchased in your territory.
Yeah.
And it's actually otherwise, American media companies would just take over everything. Now that they can get their tendrils into every country with the internet and IP delivery, why would they strike deals with local companies? So it would bone them. But likewise too, it's like when we look at like Microsoft and Sony. I kind of like to see them kind of take the lead on things as opposed to following in the wake. Jesus, I mean, the legacy of the Wii is going to be like it's a console that everybody bought, nobody played, and then both Sony and Microsoft just like fell in line trying to capture whatever the Wii had, and we have these fucking motion control things that I personally, that's how I am with your VR. I mean, to me, the most disappointing thing in everything is that when you see screenshots of both the Xbox One and the PS4, there's motion controls in both of them. It's like a major. No one ever talks about whatever that
the Move
eye is or whatever. What it's is it a Move?
Eye.
It's got an eye unit.
Too.
Yeah.
That was two different things, I think.
Right.
There was the eye that they used for that one. There was a card game.
Yeah.
It was kind of like an augmented reality or something.
Yeah.
Which 5 people played, and then the Move controller.
So yeah, I saw someone showing screenshots of. I think it was a game review website. I don't know if it was GameStop or someone. They were showing like they were playing a PS4 pre-release game, and then they started complaining because they realized that the blue light on the back of the controller was like reflecting in the TV.
Because
so
a lot of the high gloss TVs,
that
you could actually very clearly see the back of it, and that's going to be a thing. If those things worked like they want them to work, That's another one of those things, and maybe this is where the Oculus Rift is for you. If it functioned like you would want that kind of thing to function, and I haven't played with the one, maybe they got it right this time. I've got it connected home. It just doesn't keep up with you. If it could keep up with you.
Or if there's a compelling gameplay reason or a mechanic that makes sense to have it.
Which you can't do that until you get it to follow you, right?
Right.
Until it can keep up with a human body, you can't have a really immersive interaction with it because it's, ha!
Well,
oh, there it goes.
Yeah.
Well, listen, I'm one of those guys where I put a sticker over my camera on my
want it to watch
laptop.
you?
Yeah, I don't like an eye staring at me all the time and a microphone active. I don't want that in my
creepy,
house.
yeah.
And I don't want it on all the time. I mean, I would like to see, they collect a lot of metrics.
Yeah.
I mean, they collect a lot of data on how things are used. They have to see, both Sony and Microsoft, how few of their motion controllers are plugged in versus how many are bought. They have to have that data.
Which is probably why you're required to have them plugged in now.
Yeah, but that's the approach. It's like, why require it? Just make it better or give it some kind of advantage, you know, to doing it.
Here, let me read this thing
Okay.
here. I want to remind everyone, this episode of The Patch is brought to you by GoDaddy.com. GoDaddy is here to get your website off the ground. It's easy. Start today with your $199.com domain. Simply visit GoDaddy.com and use promo code PATCH. That's GoDaddy.com and promo code PATCH. Some limitations apply. See website for details. And speaking of Steam sales, we've talked about this before, how ridiculously cheap it is to buy a website domain now.
Yeah, it really is.
It's like $1.99. We grouse all the time about how it used to be $70 a year, and now it's just like super cheap.
I think I have my, I set up a website for my mother's business, and I think every year that pulls at $10 out of my account to keep that thing running. All right, sure.
Yeah, it's like if you have any reason at all, just go register a domain.
Yeah,
figure it out. Like for $2, it's like the Steam sale. It's like you almost would be dumb. It's like you're losing money by not registering it.
Gus has historically registered so many URLs. It's amazing. Like you think of an idea and you look it up. That used to be the first thing you would do is look up a URL. You know?
It's like when I first got my Sidekick, which was like the first phone I had that could like. I could issue whois commands via. It was like I would always do that, like whois, and then like looking up domain names to see if they were registered or if I could buy them. I bought a domain. The first mobile domain I ever bought was on my Sidekick too. I remember we were driving around Seattle, and it was like a dumb name I had.
So how many do you have in your catalog right now?
I let some of them expire as I don't do things with them for years. I think right now I've got like 35 or something.
So somebody just sent in. Let me credit the person who wrote this in. This is Sebastian Jacobson. I can't see his username on Twitter, but he wrote in, said it was Finland was the one who passed internet access. Well, actually, this is 2009. There's something new and more recent that I read. But Finland became the first country in the world to declare broadband internet access a legal right. This is 2009, so it was 1 megabit per second was the minimum that they required. And the country's aiming for speeds that are 100 times faster, 100 megabits per second by 2015.
Nice.
So maybe this is what I read. They're trying to reach 100 megabits per second for every citizen in the country by 2015.
Great. So I just want to point this out real fast since you're looking at Twitter.
Yeah.
Someone finally recommended a all-in-one keyboard and mouse to us, trackpad.
Why it took someone to tweet that to us and for us to do it?
Because I had bought some that didn't work. I had bought a bunch of them that were like pieces of shit. Specifically, the mouse never had the right range. So I don't even remember who tweeted us this recommendation.
But where's the other end of that computer? How far is it having to go?
It's behind you.
Oh, okay.
It's back over there, off camera.
And then another user wrote in, this is That Brick Whale on Twitter. He wrote, but hey, the patch, with buying games on demand, you have to have a credit card and shit. You can't just use cash to get those games.
How are you going to put cash in your computer?
Well, just saying that what they're saying is like he can go to GameStop right now and pay cash for a game. If it's all digital, he can't. I argue you totally could. You go to Walmart, you buy an Xbox gift card. Gift cards are like, let me tell you something. Every corporation in America wants to make gift cards because it's money that expires.
Yeah.
That's like the greatest thing ever.
Usually we'll get a little cut on it too when you try and use it, or somebody will pay a little bit of money on it. For
my kiddo, I thought it'd be great to teach him monetary financial responsibility at an early age. So when we did the allowance, I thought, I'm going to go way progressive. I'm going to get this kid a Visa, prepaid Visa, and give it to him. And all the ones I looked at, they were like $5.99 a month they pull out of it to maintain. And the kid's going to keep like a $40 balance maybe, total in it. So I was like, holy cow. But yeah, gift cards, people love them. What did we read one time? The Best Buy wrote off in a quarter for expired gift cards that went unused?
It was around $1 billion, wasn't it?
I'll look it up.
Something ridiculous.
I don't think it was that much. That's a huge amount of money.
I mean, the other thing about any kind of card, especially credit cards, any debit card that you use, you don't ever see it. But on the backside, the retailer that accepts that card has to pay money to the processing.
Right. It's
so
it's a small percentage.
it is. It's a small, but it's a little bit.
But I feel like they abuse that sometimes. Like there's a local food truck that used to require a minimum to use a credit card, and they charged like a $3 service fee. And I would get pissed off at them because I said, I'm coming here, I'm buying like $7 worth of tacos, and you're charging me a $3 service fee? I said, I run an online business. I know you're probably spending at max 3% of a transaction fee on this. I said, it's only costing you several cents to get this done, but you're passing on, essentially a 50% surcharge. They're like, we'll waive the credit card fee for you. I was like, that's not the fucking point. The point is, like all the other people in line, that you're just making a ton of money off of it, and you're passing it off as, oh, we're a small business.
Convenience fee, man.
Yeah, it's fucking bullshit.
I can't find this article on this, but I'll look it up still.
Are we still living in a world where you need cash that often, even for anybody?
Well, young people.
Yeah.
Like my 11-year-old, if he wants to buy a game with his allowance, how's he going to do it? He's come to me, and it's harder for them to make those,
All right.
Yeah, it's funny. We're going to Australia soon, and I was thinking about it. I was like, am I going to have to take cash down there, or can I do everything with a credit card? So I think I'll pull some cash out just in case, just to have it, but I think everything should be fine with a credit card.
I mean, a lot of times you can go to, actually, the times that I've traveled abroad, you could go to an ATM and stick your card in as long as it had one of the logos on the back, and you could get local currency with pretty decent rates.
Yeah, normally that's better than the rates you get at currency exchange places.
Yeah, a lot of times, because they're taking
at the airport.
Now, you may get a back-end charge for doing it.
Yeah.
That makes it kind of
I just got a new credit card that has no foreign transaction fees.
Hey.
I'm so excited about.
Are you really?
Yeah. It's like the worries of a frequent traveler.
You're gonna hit for all the foreign fees.
Yeah. So I wanted to go back real fast and talk about Walking Dead 400 Days. I felt like we kind of.
Another user here, real quick, said that in California now they passed a law that said gift cards are not legally allowed to expire.
Canada.
In California.
Really? Everyone's saying Canada on my feed.
Oh, well, California maybe and Canada too.
Let me just check.
Oh yeah,
Twitter.
California.
This is user-generated content. We make no claims for it.
So like I said, The Walking Dead 400 Days. It's about 2 hours long, and I found it was okay. I didn't like it as much as the original episodic content.
Okay.
Like I felt like the 400 Days is essentially 5 stories. They're all really quick, and they're over before you really get invested in any character.
Are they
I felt like
tack
that was
on to the original, or
it's like totally separate stories.
Totally separate. Okay.
So I feel like you don't get time to get attached to the characters, and each story is essentially 2 or 3 questions with almost no gameplay. 2 or 3 questions, and it's like walk from here to here.
It's an interactive fiction.
They sent you a vignette, essentially.
Yeah.
Listen,
it's like a very, very watered down version of the greater game.
Yeah.
I'd rather have seen another chapter fully fleshed out instead of these 5 individual stories.
Well, yeah, and obviously they got it so right with the relationship between Lee and Clementine, and you were so invested by the end of that thing. Holy moly, that was.
You ever
Did you
played
play
the
it?
original?
I haven't yet. I bet it's going to fill up on the. I bet it's going to. We'll see it on the summer Steam sale, and then I might
Absolutely
get it.
buy that game.
Yeah.
That's what the other thing is. I always want to play things on PC, but now because I'm hanging out with people with stupid large achievement scores, sometimes I kind of feel like I should play it on the Xbox just to get mine a little closer. I don't know, whatever 40,000 now, so I think I'll 40,000. Yeah. So now I don't care as much.
Yeah, I think you're
I'm in the
catching up to me.
fours.
I'm somewhere around there.
Yeah.
What are you talking about for gamer score?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm at like 85,000. Man, when Jeff started Achievement Hunter, we were like racing all the time, and like some of the early stuff we did in Achievement Hunter were all achievement races. I love doing those things. We did that. Did you ever see the Mile High Club run videos that we did?
No.
It was like the first ones we ever did. We weren't even on YouTube at that point. We were doing them on the journals on the site, and it was like we did a race to complete. The first thing we ever did was we had a bet to who could, the moment Modern Warfare came out, who could complete it 100% of all the achievements the quickest, because we saw there was no multiplayer achievements. There was only single-player achievements. So we spent an entire weekend doing that. It all basically boiled down to the last achievement, which was finishing Mile High Club in 2 minutes.
Oh, that one was fun.
I could probably still do that today from muscle memory, just doing that thing.
I was,
so.
For RTX, Nico was down here, and I was talking with him one night. And he was talking about how he finally played Modern Warfare. He hadn't gotten around to it, but he finally got through it and finished it and thought it was a great game and this and that. And I was like, oh, did you get the Mile High Club achievement? And he goes, the what? The Mile High Club achievement. He's like, what are you talking about? It's like, after the credits, there's that final mission in the airplane. He's like, what? I was like, when you're done with the game, there's another mission. You're on the airplane, you have to like save the president's daughter or something. He's like, I've never seen that. I was like, there's another fucking level.
Yeah, and it's a good one too.
Yeah.
God.
And that's why you should sit through the credits.
Nico had a really cool thing. I like performance level achievements, and Nico had one where he had an account. He had 1,000 gamer score. That was it. Dead even 1,000. and it was all in Halo 3.
Nice.
That was it. Like he had 100% in one game and got no achievements in anything else. He had that for like 2 or 3 years.
Which,
too.
I mean, that's not even 100% of Halo 3, right?
Well,
That
it was
was
before
like
DLC.
17. Okay.
Yeah, it was before DLC. And he didn't go get the perfection achievement or whatever that is afterwards.
Oh, that was a oof.
Yeah. So wrapping up here real quick. We're actually coming close to the end of our time.
We started just a couple minutes late, so yeah, we're like 10 minutes left.
Oh, great. I was hoping at RTX, one of the games that we had playable that was a really cool deal was Ubisoft brought Assassin's Creed 4, and it was in your massively crowded Achievement Hunter corner of the convention center.
Sorry to everybody that waited in that line. Yeah, and we got to play it on the main stage, actually. We did a Let's Play. It was a lot of fun, honestly. That new the pistol mode was a very different kind of gameplay from anything I've done.
So you have to kill someone with a gun.
You have to use the pistol. Yeah. And then not only that, but you have a, and obviously it's really hard to get away when someone's going to shoot you from afar. So you could tell when someone targeted you. And then the mechanic was essentially you could spawn a shield that would protect you from one shot. And then you'd had to try and get away. Even going sometimes behind obstacles wasn't enough to really elude the bullet. So you had to get through the doors or use the shield in a timely fashion. So it was a lot faster, a lot less stealth-based, a lot more intense than any other Assassin's Creed gameplay that I've played. And the regular gameplay that we did, or the first couple rounds, seemed like a little more streamlined than in the past. There was, I don't know if it was the game type we were playing or just that's what they're going to.
I've heard people say that they feel like it's a lot more streamlined.
There was a little bit less emphasis on stealth to some degree because it seemed like you got the same points whether it was stealthy or not. You just getting them was the point. But no, it was really a lot of fun. It ran great. It looked beautiful.
You guys have done a lot of Let's Plays in Assassin's Creed 2 and Assassin's Creed 3 multiplayer. Do you like those other games?
I've only been in one of those.
Oh, okay.
So I've only played maybe 4. That was probably the 6th game of Assassin's Creed multiplayer that I've played.
It seemed like a lot of fun. I've never played Assassin's Creed multiplayer. It's never been a franchise that really grabbed hold of me.
It's very different from most other of that genre. The emphasis on being stealthy and but aggressive at the same time. And I think this is a really good outgrowth of that. It looked fantastic. So that's I guess the first next gen title really that I've played with. So no, if that's the direction we're going, I think it's going to be impressive once we get to the Xbox One and the PS4.
Speaking of next gen. The GTA 5 gameplay trailer hit yesterday.
Yeah, people are fucking begging for us to talk about it.
Yeah, well, of course. It was. Did you watch the gameplay trailer?
Yeah.
What did you think?
I think it's going to be interesting. The most interesting thing I thought was the fact that you can toggle between the 3 protagonists.
Yes.
And that when you're not controlling them, they're off doing their own thing.
Right.
So
like I think you just jump to different points in the storyline. It's like it seems to me like Mass Effect, where you have companions you take on missions. If you could just like possess Garrus in a moment, like he does his own thing.
Yeah, but he's not with you.
Yeah, he's somewhere else.
It seems like the 3 characters could be totally in different parts of the map, doing different things.
Oh, I got the feeling that was like between missions, like when you're running a mission.
Well, it was both. They kind of demoed both ideas, where one, you were supporting yourself doing a mission, just a quick select to hop between characters, and 2, in your downtime, like your free play, you could just hop between whoever and just drop in on whatever they were doing in their daily life, which knowing Rockstar, there's going to be some good stuff in there. I'm sure you will drop in on somebody doing something.
Yeah.
You heard it here first.
Somebody
will drop
doing
in on
something.
somebody
What's his
doing
name?
something.
Anybody remember?
I don't know, Cletus?
Yeah.
Cletus and the Chopper?
We're going to come back and be so mad at ourselves later because, they'll be as synonymous as like Nico and Roman. But we just don't know them now because they're so new. This looked like fun where it cuts out to the sniper. Yeah.
Yeah, it looked like it.
Oh,
had a
you
little D-pad.
got off the shot there.
Well, had a little D-pad or something, quick select, where you just hop between, who's available. I'm curious to see how dynamic that is, like how often you can actually make use of that. That seems like a lot of extra work in any given mission to make sure that you could do something interesting with each.
Right.
And what do the other characters do when you're not controlling them?
Yeah,
Are they gonna?
It could be gimmicky.
Yeah.
So but Rockstar typically pulls stuff off really polished and well.
That's true.
And it looks good.
I was most impressed by the last shot at the end, which showed all the tags of names over people in the open world in the multiplayer environment. That was like, and they totally teased that, and they were like, "We'll show you that later." It's like, fuck, that looks awesome. But then I was most impressed watching it is the scope of the open world where they had like wildlife.
Oh, yeah.
And they had like underground urban decay areas and stuff like that. And had I seen this earlier in development, I would say, no fucking way, they're getting that in.
Yeah.
That's just, that's concept. But the fact that this game was already supposed to come out. This game was supposed to come out in May, like right around the time of Last of Us.
Right.
I know they were timing the delivery date of the release date of Last of Us to kind of like stay out of the way of GTA 5. But then GTA 5 got moved to the fall. So it's still close enough, I think, to where anything you see, they've got to deliver on, and
Right.
they will deliver on. So that open world just looked insane to me.
It did, yeah. And the other thing I really liked too, watching it, was you see a little bit of gameplay where he's actually shooting, you know, walking around, and it looked like that was a lot more fluid and smooth than GTA 4. The mechanics of that were a little sluggish. I mean, sometimes it's kind of hard to get your reticle to move around, and that looked really quick, like he just popped, you know, person
Yeah.
to person. The aiming seemed a lot tighter.
Yeah, GTA 4 to me was great on a macro level, and then
Yeah.
as you got more micro, it got a little bit harder. Like there was an achievement associated with counter punches with the melee combat, and that always just seemed a little like, maybe I'll get him, maybe I won't. Didn't feel like that was really up to me if I was going to beat this guy up or
Just
not.
FYI, we're at about 5 minutes out.
Okay.
I said I was going to warn you.
Okay, before we get to talk about Last of Us and get kind of a spoilerish part of the patch for Last of Us, warnings in advance, one more thing I want to talk about is RTX 343 Industries was out there, and they had some very cool reveals. They revealed a new update for the game, which is going to have new armor packs and new weapon packs.
It's the Champions bundle.
The Champions bundle, there you go. And then they showed off Vertigo, a new map, which was gorgeous. And I can't wait to see that.
Pitfall, which is a remake of The Pit.
Which came along with a new game type.
Yes.
Which is near and dear to our hearts. It's a sports game type. It's called Ricochet, where they have now a dedicated ball, which looks like a combination of the oddball and a monitor together. And it's a sports game type where you have the ball and you can pass it. There's a mechanic in the game now for actually passing the ball. And you can score in the goal from a distance by like making a shot and shooting it in, or you can run it in for more points. And we got to play that on stage. And unlike Griffball, it doesn't use just hammers and swords. It uses all the weapons. So it's,
And there's a new armor set that looks like a football helmet. It looks like a sports.
Yeah, it almost looks
sports
like a lacrosse helmet.
Yeah.
Yeah, like it's got the steel grid on it. Which is funny, the guys in armor
Who are shooting each other. Have like this face mask thing on.
Yeah, and one of the cool things too, they're bringing back the in the armor pack, bringing back the ODST helmet they showed off, and then they showed off the Mark V helmet, which is like this awesome like low res, janky looking helmet. It's just like obviously that's near and dear to our hearts because Ricochet is a lot like Griffball, and the Mark V helmet is
I wish that's how technology really progressed, where it started off really blocky and low pixel and then slowly became high res. Like newer laptop. Well, I guess it kind of is how it looks. I mean, if you look at an old laptop versus what we have now, it's like all streamlined.
Like the old lug tops, and stuff like that. I always said that I went back and watched RoboCop. And, I should talk about this for a second, by the way, because people asked about my case. Last week, I think on the patch, I was talking about my iPhone case, which is it's a credit card case that like my credit cards live on the back of my iPhone. Everybody has been asking me about this on Twitter, what it's called. It's called a Boost case. It's a BOOST case. I got it at Urban Outfitters is where I got it. But it's it's the Boost case plus wallet. I think there's also when you get the battery hangs off the back of it. But yeah, we said like I went back and watched RoboCop, the original RoboCop, and there's a thing where they track RoboCop, and he's got like a device in him where they can track him. And the bad guys are holding the thing in their hand. It's about this thick, and it's like this wide. And it's got like a red, like old school LED in the middle of it, and it's got like a shitty map of the city. I'm like, And I was thinking, wow, my device I have in my hand is better than what they could fake in the 80s. They couldn't come up with a fake version that was better than what I have. Like this would have seemed unrealistic at the time.
It's like, yeah, no way, no one will have that. So we have 2 minutes out.
All right, any more things for Ryan? Anybody got anything they want to talk about? Twitter's not that immediate, so no, I guess not.
Right.
Beat it.
Well, see you guys.
Unplug.
Love you, Ryan.
Thank you. Thank you.
I'll unplug you there
Thank you. Please do.
so you can get away. There you go.
Get out of here.
Okay, so you want to talk a little bit about Last of Us?
So she watched all the cinematics from beginning to end.
Yeah.
So if, by the way, if you're listening to this,
Why don't you pass off your mic to Ashley in case she wants to jump in?
if you're listening to this or watching this, we're gonna talk a lot about spoilers for the patch or for Last of Us.
You look so depressed there for a second.
So I'm just letting you know you should stop listening or stop watching if you care about spoilers for Last of Us. So what was the story complete? Could you get the whole story just by watching the cinematics?
I would say no. you can't. And I took notes when we were watching it, and maybe Ashley can kind of jump in here for a second and just like ask us questions. Ash, jump in here and we'll plug you in. But basically, there were gaps, and there were important moments in gameplay that didn't translate in the cinematics. Specifically, we're not going to do a spoiler cast on Last of Us because it's a pretty straightforward story. Hello, Ashley. How are you doing?
Hello.
Hi.
1 minute.
So, you know, there's a big moment at the end of the game with the surgeon.
Yes.
And it's in gameplay. One of the criticisms I have of Last of Us is that because it's in gameplay, it seems like a choice, but there's no choice involved
Right, no
with that.
choice, yeah.
So it should be in a cinematic.
Well, I've heard them talk about how that they did a lot of playtesting on that. Naughty Dog did a lot of playtesting on that, and that initially that scene played out as a cinematic, but they reverted it and decided to make it gameplay.
I think
That they went back and forth a lot on that specific moment.
I think it should have been a cinematic. If you're not going to give the player choice, like let the surgery go forward,
You don't necessarily have to shoot the surgeons, though.
would you sit there forever in the room?
You can shoot one of them. It's a question of whether or not you shoot the other ones.
Oh, well, that's okay, I guess. That makes sense. I mean, you could have come out of the cinematic and had that choice, too. Right?
You shoot surgeons?
Well, you didn't see it. You didn't see it because you didn't see the cinematic, so that's not even included.
Yeah, when you're taking Ellie away from the Fireflies at the end of the...
last I see is he's being marched out, like frog marched out, and he like attacks the guy, and then he comes up in the elevator with Ellie, and I was like, it all went great.
Yeah, you go through like a long thing where you fight, and then you have
That's
to
a
like...
horrible battle, too, at the end.
Yeah, they have Ellie. She's under anesthesia, and you have to like shoot the surgeons.
Me plug in?
Or shoot at least one surgeon
You need a plug in here?
in order to
I'm ready
get out of the hospital.
Okay, so ask real questions. Like, what was one of the things that you missed in it?
Okay, so
The first big jump.
The beginning, all you see is, you know, Sarah falls asleep, and then
We're
spoiering, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
she's
Then
only
we're getting
watched
shot.
cinematics. Yeah.
And she's getting shot. There's nothing in between, you know,
Her
falling
fall-
asleep and getting shot. There's a big blank, huge disconnect.
Also, what is missing from this zombie movie that we watched in cinematics?
Oh, all the zombies.
There's no
There's
zombies.
like 3 zombies, and it's the best zombie movie of the year. There are 3 zombies. We counted.
So let me
then-
ask you, what kind of zombies are in Last of Us? Tell me what kinds there are. Are there different kinds?
They got like little heads that kind of come out like that.
Clickers are the only thing in cinematics. There are no
wonder if
runners and
that's-
there's no big ones.
I wonder if that's an intentional choice in order to make you connect better with the human players and not make it about the scary monsters.
You certainly do. There's also like really no shooting. The only like real death that takes place on screen is Sam, actually. And you know, to some
This is really
degree,
spoilers.
Henry.
Yeah, you miss Henry's betrayal. And also she's like, why is Joel falling off the horse?
Yeah. I have no idea what happened there. I just know that some shit happened and
He's
When he
hurt.
falls on the rebar.
yeah.
That's not in there at all. So there's really some of the more critical moments in the story. You know, she sees they're going into a hospital facility or the Firefly facility. Then all of a sudden they're on a horse and he's hurt, and then it's winter.
Yeah, and then it's winter, and he's been in a coma for what, like 3 months? I have no idea.
Yeah.
Also, boss battles, like right after that, boss battles that happen, she doesn't see the resolution on that. She sees the setup for it, and then the boss battle is in the game, so you don't see it.
Yeah.
But did you feel like you watched a complete movie? Could you tell the story, do you think, of Last of Us with some major missing components?
Yeah, there's a couple major missing components, but otherwise it was actually a really good movie.
So how long was the runtime?
It was maybe a little over an hour and a half.
Oh, that's a lot.
Yeah, I mean it was actually like movie length.
And from
Which is
my,
great.
and also she's like, where do these giraffes come from?
Oh yeah.
She did not. I don't think you knew they were giraffes, did you?
The giraffe.
You thought they were in mountains or something like that. She
Yeah,
didn't know
well
where
they cut from winter and Ellie getting away from crazy like fucking mountain men with chopping blocks and everything to giraffes.
That's a big gap. Ellie's on the chopping block, and then they're looking at giraffes.
Yeah, like she runs out the window and then they're together in a summery place and there's giraffes. What happened? How did they reunite?
As someone
We're
who's
at
played
an
the
hour,
game,
so we're gonna wrap
okay.
up. But
As someone who's played the game, really quick roundup from my notes here. Playing the game and then watching it, you don't get a good sense of who the enemies are. Like you don't know when you move from you're fighting zombies to fighting the military to fighting zombies to fighting the hunters. There's a long stage where you fight hunters. To fighting there's the guy, they ambush them. They ambush the truck.
Okay.
With the bus and. But you'll get a good sense of that. You also get a much better feeling watching all the cinematics back to back, what the early cinematics were and what the newer cinematics are.
Oh, really?
You can tell a difference in quality between them. In particular, there's one where they come out of the sewers at the beginning with Tess, and that looks like a very early cinematic to me, or maybe one that was done later and rushed. So if you've played Last of Us, take an hour and a half and watch the cinematics. They're awesome.
I may go back and do that.
Yeah,
Really
it's
cool
definitely
idea.
obviously not the way it's intended to be watched, but like we've said, Naughty Dog just makes incredible cinematics and incredibly cinematic games. It's worth it to me to go back and watch it. I thought it was interesting.
I saw someone tweet awesome Keyblade necklace. I didn't even see it until I saw the tweet. Okay, so thanks for watching, everyone. We'll be back next week with another episode of The Patch, and we'll spoil more games for you.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Thanks for being on the podcast, Ryan. That was awesome.